Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining me again. You know, every time I do something on here, you get quite a lot of feedback. In fact, you get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments every single time. And it's a near impossible task to try and keep up with them all. But what I try and do is give each one a heart, so you know I've read and you know I've seen what you've had to say. One of the things you can do as a YouTuber every now and again is make a video on a comment you've seen, which is exactly what this one is. I found this comment very interesting. Here it is. Now, the thing that stuck out to me the most was you, Paul Thorpe and Paz, present yourself as right wing. And you keep blowing hot and cold. It's the presenting yourself part that interested me particularly. You know, Paul Thorpe, a businessman, Paz, ex-military, ex-prison officer, me, taxi driver, come YouTube personage, all through completely different walks of life. And we find ourselves here. What unites us, and I'm only speaking for myself, is that worry about what's happening to our country, I suppose you could say. And we end up with this platform where we can express our worries and our concerns about what's going on. And you often find that you get badged in life depending on what comes out of your mouth. You know, a lot of the things that I cover, and therefore probably a lot of my opinions do lean to the right. You'd be surprised about some of the things I do think about other subjects, but you often get tarnished or you get painted with a brush depending on what comes out of your mouth, and that's what Paz, myself, and I suppose Paul have in common. There's nothing wrong with that. You're entitled to your opinion. But isn't right wing, isn't left wing, isn't anything wing, centre ground, isn't it all poppycock? Isn't it all very divisive in itself? You know, to give you a bit of background, was a conservative. I was born into a conservative family, and I believed in the status quo. I believed that every few years Labour or Conservatives have a go, and then we just go around this merry-go-round of government, well, incompetence as it turns out. And then we wait out till the next time where hopefully we can get rid of the useless buggers and change it. Well, we've got to a point in our history where, like any poorly run business, where you have something called panic management, a series of poor decisions have reached a crescendo where something of a desperate nature needs to happen. I think we've reached one of those times. Now, as a conservative, I lost faith with them a long time ago because there was one thing very apparent, and that was the fact that no matter what they said or no matter what they did, particularly at election time, they went back on it every single time. Same's true of Labour. You look what's happened this time round, and all we can do is blame the last lot of tosspots for everything that happened. It's all their fault, not ours. That's the system that we're locked into. Doesn't do anybody any good. And what I really want, I want a safe, affordable home. You know, there was a house down the road from me that was for sale, and it's a normal everyday neighbourhood. I mean, have a look at where I am now. This is the kind of area where I live, and you've got the sea down the end there. £400,000. 400,000. I mean, how can anybody afford that? And then when you move in, you've got your gas and electricity bills. I had an email through saying that mine's going to go up again. Council tax, that's gone up by more than 5%. Shouldn't you have a referendum? And I went to Tesco's earlier, and I couldn't believe the prices of some of the things. For some reason I took more notice today than I usually do, and it's all these little things combined that make our lives difficult. And when prices go up like that, it's generally due to taxes and VAT and the general state of the economy, and who has a lot of control over that. You guessed it. The other thing I want is for my child to be able to go to school. I don't know if everybody knows, I have two kids. One's 11 and the other's 21, so a bit of an age gap. And I want my child to go to school and receive a good standard of education rooted in English values, so he knows where he came from. I want him to be proud of his family heritage and carry on the name. But most of all, I want him to be safe. I want to be able to walk around my local neighbourhood like I am now, not having to worry about looking over my shoulder. Oh, there's no one there. What a sad state of affairs when you have to do that. I want my wife to be able to go out and be safe at work. I want to see police on the streets doing the job they used to do. I want to be able to afford to drive. I want to be able to have the freedom to go where I want to go, make the choices I want to make. And one of the things, and this is where there is a big clash in between the two schools of thought, I want to know who's coming into this country and who's going out of it. And I want to know what they want when they get here, what their intentions are, who they are, and that they're not going to pose a danger to anybody that I love and care about, and particularly my neighbourhood. These are all normal things that any normal person would like. And to some, that makes me far right. It makes me right of centre, whatever you want to call it. Now, everything I've just told you there, in my mind, is common sense. It should be common sense to other people too. But then you take the extreme view, the other side. We're all a product of our upbringing at the end of the day, and we're all bred and brought up to believe different things. But at the end of the day, we're all in this country. Everything that happens affects all of us. And we should start talking instead of sniping at each other because of our petty political differences. 40% of the people in this country didn't vote at the last election. They were either not registered or just didn't bother to turn out at all. 40%. What do they really think? What about the nearly 60% that did vote? Did they vote the way they did because they felt they had no choice? We all have the power to make this right. It's not us, it's our kids. The question is, do you want to? Or are we just going to continue arguing about it and squabbling over petty differences? One of the things, and I'll finish with this, I love about YouTube is all of the different opinions, all of the different walks of life everybody comes from. But at the end of the day, you need to deliver those opinions and those thoughts in a certain way so we can all, coexist, get on, and then we might learn something. If not, what else do you do? Anyway, I'm going to about face. Having walked down this long road, I'm going to hit the stop button and go home. I've got a little person I promised to take for a game of pool. Last time we went, he kicked my butt. Thank you very much for all your support as always. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you will, and have a look at these videos. And as always, I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.